This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Made it through another week. And back went to the workout this morning. Already been, I'm working on hour number 7 or 8 of this day, which is fine. I was talking to Trace McSorley when I saw him last night, and he asked me whether I was going to go this morning. I said, yeah. I said, it's really quite simple. You got to put the work in to do the job right. And, you may get a little bit of something out of it. You may get a lot out of it. But that little bit is something you may reference later on during the course of a season. And, I don't know, to me, this is the only way I know how to do the job. I just feel you've got to be there. You have to be present. So the winners this morning, and this is not me telling you, this is the coaches and what they said were their competitors of the day. This is, because they're the ones that have to select it. Now, watching it, it all makes sense to me. Everything they said to me matched up with what I saw. But they go and they'll say top competitor of the day. For example, Elliott Washington was the top competitor of the day among the corners. Well, I'd also like to point out they've had 4 of these workouts. He's been the top competitor all 4 times. I'll say this, though. I felt like that A.J. Harris gave him a pretty good run for his money today. Okay. Benga Ioane was Phil Troutwine's competitor of the day, saying he brought energy and dominated drills. There was no doubt about this one in my mind at all. Quarterback, top competitor of the day, Drew Aller. Same thing with what Marcus Hagan said about wide receivers. His top competitor of the day, I'll tell you right now, you want to talk about somebody who is physically mature, and that is Kyron Hudson, the transfer from USC. I am anxious to see when the new weights come out, because that's not done yet. It'll be before spring practice starts. But I'm interested to see what Luke Reynolds' weight is, because he's got real muscle definition to him right now. And he was Ty Howell's competitor of the day in workout number 4. Up front, Deion Barnes. There are a few guys he could have picked, but it was interesting. They've been matching up Xavier Gilliam and Zane Durant, and it's been really good. Okay? Gilliam is the one that was named the competitor of the day today. Linebackers. This is the second time Dan Connor has gone with Kari Jackson. I think he was the first week. The first one. Well, he got it again today. And Dan put out in his tweet that he kept his foot on the gas pedal from start to finish. And then after, I told you, Elliott Washington's made it 4 for 4. Safeties is Colin Dinkins. I'll say this about Colin Dinkins. He is a fabulous athlete. Always has been. Right? It's got to, that's why he's so good on special teams, because he's such a good athlete. Stan Drayton went with Emil Davis this morning. Now, if you're asking, well, gee, what about Nick Singleton? What about Katron Allen? They were really good all day. Okay, but he went with Emil Davis, and Emil Davis busted his backside and earned it for Stan Drayton today. And among the special teamers, it was punter Riley Thompson today. Okay? So there you go. Now let's have a little, we do have, now last night, what did I say going into yesterday's Bucknell game? I said, look, it's an NCAA tournament game. Okay, they all are. When you are a one-bid conference, that means the NCAA tournament has now started for you. And Loyola fought its guts out last night, because this is the only way to keep their season alive. And Bucknell beat them in overtime. How about that? Quite the game. They had over, 3,000 there last night?
Yeah, it was hopping. Bucknell was up 17 at one point in the first half. It was a wild one.
Well, they won.
Yeah, they won.
So,
That's the most important thing.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
Okay? This is not about style points. Well, no. It's about winning. This isn't about style points. You are not getting to the NCAA tournament on style points. In this conference, the only thing that counts is winning. They won. It may not have been the prettiest thing in the face of the earth. They got a real challenge and push from Loyola last night, but they won. Now they've got Eddie DeChellis' Navy team coming because they beat BU last night.
And it's not going to be any less physical and any less of a rock fight than last night was.
No, of course not. Look, everybody's fighting for something here. You're fighting for something. Everybody is. All right? And it's just, that to me is the key part of it. This is the NCAA tournament. Bucknell's got to win 2 more to get themselves, I don't know, to where. Maybe it's Dayton, maybe it's someplace else. No idea. Okay? But that is what the stakes are. Playing in Soika last night absolutely did not hurt Bucknell. And they got Soika again.
Yeah, they had a full student section. The community came out.
It's great.
It was a really good. It's as loud in Soika as it's been since Mike Muscala and those guys played.
That's great. That is great. Okay, now we're going to get to Charles Barkley. I didn't see him say this, and as you know, approximately how many pregame shows do I watch during a week?
0.
That is a very good guess. I don't watch any. So I have no idea. I can't tell you a single thing Kendrick Perkins has ever said. Just like he can't say a single thing I ever said. Yeah. Right? I always have the same response. What a coincidence. So I heard about that Barkley had ripped him. I have, only just going through articles and whatever, getting ready for the show. I'm thinking, okay, well, what the heck did Barkley say? So I found the article. And Barkley started his rant by saying, quote, "I saw a fool idiot on TV saying the Lakers saved the NBA. He's an idiot and a fool, but he knows who he is. Barkley then asked Shaquille O'Neal, who on that particular day was celebrating his 53rd birthday, to identify who he was talking about. When O'Neal failed to do so, Barkley said, "All right, Kendrick Perkins." It's like, great. So much for the mystery. He said the Lakers, first of all, the Lakers have had 2 great weeks, Barkley said. He said the Lakers saved the NBA season. That's because them fools in the other network, which we're going to be working for next year, that's all they talk about. Again, my opinion about ESPN, he's not wrong. And I'll talk about that in a moment because I have talked about it before. He says, let me tell you all something. And first of all, I want all the smoke. I don't whistle when I walk by the graveyard or anything like that. He says he conceded that both the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors are certainly playing much better in recent weeks, and that's true. But he took issue with ESPN giving those teams favorable coverage over the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, which, by the way, he is absolutely 100% correct. Those two have been among the league's best from day one. I keep waiting for the Cavaliers to go on some losing streak. I've been waiting 6 months. Forget it. They're good. Barkley said, hey, man, the Lakers are doing great. Got a long way to go. But the reason the season's been going great have been the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And y'all just want to talk about the Warriors and the Lakers. They're both doing great, don't get me wrong. If I turn out to be wrong, I got no problem with that. But y'all are idiots because that's all you talk about are the Lakers and the Warriors all the time. The Cavaliers have won 12 straight games. Oklahoma City got the MVP, and they are on fire. Y'all are talking about who's in second place. That's the reason I get mad. The Lakers are doing great. I don't mind being wrong. The Warriors are doing great. But that's because you fools on the other network, which we're going to become fools next year when we're there. He says, Oklahoma City and the Cavs have been balling for 6 months, and all you've talked about are 2 weeks. So Ernie Johnson then jumps in and asks Barkley, is there some credit to be handed out? Barkley said, yeah. And then he continued to criticize ESPN's continued coverage of the Lakers and the Warriors, as well as other issues he has with the network's NBA coverage. He says, but don't say basketball's only watching now. First of all, between that and this lame LeBron James, Michael Jordan debate, which is lame. I've said for years the only people who talk about LeBron and Michael are people on television who have no talent to talk about anything else. He's not wrong. I've been saying that for years. I'm not hanging on to the 90s. I've always said LeBron's great, Michael's great, but you all talk about it all the time, and then got LeBron out there posing and talking about how he's mad about being in the face of the league, but he said, it just makes me mad. He says, the Cavs and the Thunder are the 2 best stories in the NBA this year. Congratulations to the Lakers and the Warriors. They've had 2 great weeks. The Cavs and OKC have had 6 great months. During the rant, O'Neal is laughing. Johnson finally asked Shaq if this was one of his favorite rants, and O'Neal said, yes, it is, because it's on my birthday and I needed it. All right. I have said this for a long time. ESPN is great because they carry all these games and all these sports. You want to watch an NBA game, they've got it. You want to watch the NHL, they've got it. Major League Baseball, the NFL, right? The National Lacrosse Championship, the National Wrestling Championship, the Women's Basketball Tournament. College football, college basketball all over the place. College football playoff. Right? Okay? That's where they're great. But when it comes to the talking part of it, all they talk about, it seems, over and over again are the Lakers, the Knicks, the Dallas Cowboys, and then they focus on certain individuals. Yeah. For a long time, they focused on Tiger Woods. For a long time, they focused on Kobe Bryant. For a long time, they focused on Brett Favre. For a long time, they focused on Aaron Rodgers. for a long time, they focus and still continue to focus on LeBron James. Like they're trigger names that they think are ratings winners for them. Right? In baseball, they talk about the Yankees and the Dodgers. They talk about Shohei Ohtani and about Aaron Judge. How much conversation on ESPN was there last summer with the Kansas City Royals and Bobby Witt Jr.? Now, I'm not saying Bobby Witt Jr. is the best player in the game. I'm not saying that. But he's a marvelous young talent. And the Royals were thought to be a last-place team. Don't they deserve some coverage? Or do we have to have the nightly Aaron Judge, pursuit of, I don't know what he's pursuing. Do we have to have that every night? Oh, and by the way, the Brewers won? You're a national network. Why did they just concentrate? I mean, am I wrong about this, Todd? I feel like they concentrate on the Lakers, the Knicks, the Dallas Cowboys over and over and over again. The only time they concentrated on the Eagles is when they got to the playoffs. And the Eagles were a far superior team. And, it's like, part of it was the Cowboys weren't in the playoffs, but that's all in the NFL. That's the one team they talk about over and over and over again. And the Cowboys, how relevant have they been in the last 30 years?
Not particularly.
but I feel like I'm talking about not when it comes to the games. When it comes to the games, whatever. In basketball, it's always Duke. And Duke, to its credit, is playing really well. It's always Kentucky. It's North Carolina. It's always North Carolina. Okay? On a weekend where Alabama's playing Auburn, 1 versus 7, and Marquette is hosting St. John's, albeit not on ESPN. Where's College Game Day this week?
I'm guessing Duke, North Carolina?
Yep. And Dan Schulman and Jay Billis are not doing that game this week.
Why would they? North Carolina's not very good.
North Carolina is a good team. They are far from a great team. They are 1-10 in quad 1 games. They are, I think, 1-6 in games decided by 5 points or less. But, see, the problem is when they're not doing the games. The concentration levels are on the SEC in football, the Yankees and the Dodgers in baseball, the Cowboys in the NFL, the Lakers and the Knicks in the NBA. There's no bias when it comes to how they cover the NHL. I just think that's such a new property to them to reacquire it. They're like, okay, well, whatever you guys want, we'll do. Okay.
Well, your NHL bias can be, the amount of coverage they gave the NHL when they didn't have it and the amount of coverage they give it now.
And that's going to be baseball's problem moving forward.
Yes.
Okay. Caitlin Clark got a ton of coverage last year from them. Same thing in the WNBA. The WNBA is going to be the beneficiary eventually, in my opinion, of Major League Baseball not being on ESPN, because I think ESPN, as has been their habit, will cut way back on highlights, and it's going to be a lot of NBA stuff in the offseason, a lot of NFL stuff in the offseason, and WNBA. Right? I think did I say this on the show yesterday? I asked my class yesterday. I said, let me just ask you, because, look, they're 18 to 23-year-olds, so they're a great sounding board for me. I said, how many of you watch the WNBA? You want to know how many hands went up?
I'm guessing the point is either a lot of them or almost none of them.
How about zero? Not one hand went up. I was actually taken aback by that. I thought there'd be more. And there was nobody. Like, wow. It went 180 of what I thought I was going to get maybe a third of the class. I really did. I said, nobody? They said, no. Like, ooh. Now, I think they're hurt by the time of the year. That's why this Major League Baseball thing is going to be interesting. Now, I will say this. The timing for the WNBA is good in Major League Baseball's exiting after this year if they don't come to another agreement. But the timing is also rough because guess what the WNBA has to go up against during the summertime? The World Cup.
I couldn't remember what year we were in, Olympic or World Cup.
Yeah, next year's the Winter Olympics. The suit has it all up on his planner. Now, I hope the suit goes to Los Angeles, don't you? I mean, he should save his money and go to Los Angeles and go to some Olympic events. He loves the Olympics. He should go. How many chances you going to get?
My late boss at the newspaper, he and his wife never had kids. The two things they did, they always went to the Toronto Film Festival, and they never missed a Summer Olympics. They even went to Beijing.
Oh, that's great. Good for them. But I'm telling you, that's when they're not doing games, ESPN to me is unwatchable. Yes. Because they don't understand there are 30 Major League Baseball teams, 32 NFL teams, 30 NBA teams, 32 NHL teams, college football conferences all over the place. I mean, game day added the extra hour and it didn't make it better. They got 364 college basketball teams, and they just concentrate on a handful.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour being brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drink, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. Ready-to-drink cocktails. High Noon, Crown Royal, Jack Daniels. And the pickle bar led by the Barrels and the Dills. Indeed, second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Person who witnessed the suit breaking the chair at Cornell now joins us to talk about basketball, because Bucknell basketball is far from broke, unlike that chair at Cornell, as they won in overtime last night. Doug Birdsong, one of the absolute best in the business. Doug, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Steve. What a win for the Bison. And as you said, it was more exciting than even watching the suit go backwards at the Cornell press box.
No. The video of that is very entertaining. So, look, essentially, as far as I'm concerned, when you're a one-bid league, which is what the Patriot is, when this tournament starts, these are all NCAA tournament games. How did you feel both sides handled the pressure of that last night?
In a fantastic way. I was so impressed and you mentioned it here at the outset, of course, of your broadcast today of the show, I was so impressed that what Coach Leffler and his Loyola team was able to do. I mean, Bucknell really just gave them a gut punch at the very beginning, led with 8 minutes left in the first half by 17 points, and to come back from that and to take multiple leads in the second half, wow, it was incredible. But then give credit to Bucknell. Obviously, Bucknell has been in this kind of a game many times this year, now with an NCAA record, 9 overtime games this season. And Coach Griffin, those guys, particularly the guards, Joshua Bosco, Elvin Edmonds IV, both seniors that haven't played all 4 years, or started all 4 years, I should say, but have gotten enough playing time. I thought they did a great job. And both of those guys picked up 4 fouls with about 10 minutes left in the second half. So to play the rest of that half and overtime without fouling out, that was critical.
What has allowed Bucknell to play well in these overtime games, or play well down the stretch even to get games to overtime?
Well, earlier in the year, Bucknell, unfortunately, was kind of losing some leads. So I don't know if they were playing necessarily as well as Coach Griffin would have wanted, and that was kind of what was happening with the overtimes. A little different with Richmond. Bucknell came from 20 points down to actually force overtime there. But more recently, I think in the overtimes, it's been the ability for Coach Griffin and his staff, and then the players on the floor to execute what Coach Griffin and his staff have drawn up to get good looks. Many of those good looks happen to go to Noah Williamson, the 7-foot junior center from Latvia, and I think that either he gets a good look or he's able to pass it out to someone like Bosco, like Edmonds, like Rubigiak, and be able to get an open shot. So I think it's kind of a combination of all of those. But this Bucknell team, I tell you what, Steve, it is so hardened right now. I love where this team is. 2 straight years, Coach Griffin has gotten his team better at the end of the year. And another thing you just mentioned, in the Patriot League, many of the leagues in Division I, not the Big Ten, not the SEC, Big 12, whatever, you are only going to send one team to the NCAA tournament. So you have to be playing your best come tournament time.
Here's the other part. Everybody, when they played Loyola last night, it was the 3rd time they played. When they play Eddie and Navy coming up on Sunday, it'll be the 3rd time they've played. Scouting's really good in this league. What kind of role does that play in close games, because it is the 3rd time through?
Well, I actually just recorded my interview with Coach Griffin here a little bit ago for Sunday's broadcast, and one thing I asked him, in the game at Annapolis, the last time these 2 teams played, Bucknell got a huge lead in the first half, and so Coach DeChellis basically went all out, as you would expect, went full court pressure the entire second half. Navy, Army, and the Patriot League, at least, they can afford to do that because of all the bodies they have, and it really caused Bucknell some problems. So I asked him this question, do you feel like that's probably what we're going to see Sunday? And he said, yeah. He goes, they'll do a lot of changing defenses, which Coach DeChellis, as you well know, is known to do. But he thinks there will be more full court pressure maybe in the first half than what Navy employed down in Annapolis.
Yeah. What does it mean to have Josh Bosco back there handling the ball as often as he does? What does that mean to stabilizing how Bucknell plays?
Well, Joshua has such a unique way of passing, and last year was his first year of really getting that opportunity because he has been a shooting guard. Elvin Edmonds IV has been the point guard. I think at times last year the team wasn't ready for his passes. This year they're ready. So in that case, he is a guy who can just off the dribble beat you, and because of his at times flashy passing, you have to respect whoever you're defending, for instance. So let's say it's full court pressure, or let's just say it's in the half court. He's driving. Okay, if you're on Williamson or Bijiak? Do you step up to cut him off if he beat his own man one-on-one? If you do that, he is great at getting that pass to that person who you just now left. So I think that's probably the biggest advantage that Bosco brings. He is so good at making you miss if you're defending him one-on-one. And then if he gets past you, Katie bar the door, what are you going to do on the backside of that? Are you going to take him, try and prevent him from driving? He's very good at the teardrop or the little push shot in the lane. Or are you going to let him pass off to one of the other guys who may be coming to the basket? And I think Bucknell, in fact, last night, Achilles Spadone did it a few times, transfer from Davidson College. I think Bucknell's players have started to not stand around as much and move while he's moving, which then, of course, causes even more problems for the defense.
Yeah. How tough is it when you're in a one-bid league like this, knowing there's no leeway?
A lot of pressure, of course. But this team was picked fourth in the preseason Patriot League poll. Last year was picked last and finished tied for second. And this year picked fourth, finished the regular season number one. I don't know that these guys, they're such a unique group. You know, when I'm riding on the bus with them, I sit up front near the coaches and stuff. I'm sure you do the same with Penn State when you go with the team, and the team sits behind you and stuff. I can't count how many times, Steve, you hear laughter and, you know, guys making fun of one another. They love each other. And I sense that this team doesn't get rattled very easily. So while it was a tough circumstance last night, I think they understand that while the ultimate goal is the NCAA tournament, to have done what this team has already accomplished and to win the number one seed, but a share of the Patriot League regular season title, which arguably is much more difficult than winning 3 games in March, even though those are tough, obviously. I think that they are at ease with where they are. And I think that's huge when you get into tournament play, knowing we have done our absolute best. We're going to play our absolute best today, and we'll just see what happens.
What did the crowd mean to that team last night?
Incredible lift. Yeah, like I said, I just recorded my interview with Coach Griffin. We were talking as he was leaving the office here, and I asked him about that. And Joel Morse, who is in charge of kind of our little suite over here, we were talking about Todd Newcomb, who's a Bucknell grad, and he does so much, how much he helped Coach Griffin, how much Todd's son, who works with us, Brett Newcomb, they all did so many social media hits. Coach Griffin went out to speak to students on campus, and there were so many students there. By far the best student turnout this year, probably rivaled the opening game last year when Bucknell hosted Delaware at Soika. I just think that not only did the team feed off of those students and their energy, I thought the townsfolk, which there was a huge turnout of folks from the Lewisburg area, central Susquehanna Valley area here last night, I thought they fed off of it. It was a great atmosphere. I know Todd Hummel, you guys were talking about that. Todd was there. I'm sure he would attest. It was just a great atmosphere.
I said to Steve earlier, it's been a while since they've had that, at least since I've been there, since they've had that kind of crowd.
No doubt, and it's funny you mentioned that, Todd, because Coach Griffin, after we were done, maybe it's actually part of the interview, I can't recall, but one way or the other, you'll either hear it Sunday or it was just the two of us talking. He said, man, it was like old times. And he means when he was a student athlete here at Bucknell and the crowds that were at Soika at that time. And I go, you are correct. It was as loud as I can remember it in a long time here. And that includes some great teams with Nana Follins, Stephen Brown, Zach Thomas, Nate Sestina, Kimmel McKenzie, et cetera.
Time of the game on Sundays, what? Is that 1? Noon. Noon on Sunday.
It'll be on CBS Sports, but of course you guys can turn down the TV sound and listen to Terry Conrad and I on Eagle 107.
Which we will as we're sitting there, because as Steve McGarrett would say, be there, aloha. All right.
Yes. I did want to say, I did mention you, Steve, in the postgame on the ESPN Plus broadcast, because I had mentioned how you had mentioned on your local, as I put it, local radio show, that today, for all of the Patriot League teams, but of course including Bucknell, in the quarterfinals, it was the first game for those teams that hadn't already played, like Loyola. It was the first game of the NCAA tournament, and it really was last night.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is. This is win and move on, lose and have that hard reality. All right, Doug, great job as always. Eagle 107 will have the coverage. Would it help attendance if we said it was suit day?
Well, if you said it was suit day outside the area, and that the only way you could avoid suit day was by coming into Soika, then it would probably help attendance.
Oh no, because he's not going. Come on.
Okay, all right.
All right, let's pick a spot he won't be at. Let's go there.
Yes.
Would a dunk tank help?
Oh, that would be great.
In fact, I'll buy the first 100 tickets.
Hey, believe me, I saw him get dunked at Cornell press box. I don't know if anything will ever top that.
It's not good when a guy can't sit in a chair. All right. Appreciate it, Doug. Great work as always. Good luck with everybody on Sunday.
Thank you very much, Steve and Todd. You guys have a great day.
Doug Birdsong, the outstanding play-by-play voice of Bucknell sports, including Bucknell basketball, Sunday high noon, Navy, led by my old friend Ed DeChellis, will be in the building for the Patriot League semifinals. We will come back with more in a moment. Brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
When car repairs get difficult,
Well, I just don't know.
Me neither.
we get good. Sunbury Motors. More than quality new and used cars, Sunbury Motors specializes in complicated auto repair diagnosis. They can handle intricate repairs and even complete auto body with service open Monday through Friday, 7 till 4. And Sunbury Motors has made simple repairs easy. Maintaining your vehicle is necessary. Finding the time to do it is difficult. Welcome to Sunbury Motors Quick Lane. Just walk in or call ahead. Relax in their remodeled waiting room with Wi-Fi, beverages, and snacks. While Sunbury Motors factory-trained techs take care of your oil change, tire alignments, brakes, and inspections. Quick Lane, 6:30 to 6, Monday through Friday, Saturday, 6:30 till 2. Sunbury Motors, Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. We take the out of auto repair.
Great to have you with us on the show today. Brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Sunday, noon, Soika. Bucknell, Navy. Big Ten Wrestling Championships this weekend. Big hockey matchup tonight. Best 2 out of 3. Penn State, Michigan. As we had Brian Tripp on the show earlier in the week, mentioned there was some benefit actually to, you'd love to play it at home. You'd love to play it at home. But we can talk about rankings all we want, but those rankings don't mean much. It's pairwise that actually is the key. And right now Penn State's 14, and actually they can really assure themselves of an NCAA tournament bid by winning 2 games this weekend? I mean, they would be locked in. So that starts tonight. Wrestling's at Northwestern for the Big Tens. This is where I absolutely agree with Cale. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything that I don't agree with Cale. There really isn't anything. We've always been on the same page about everything. But it's been brought up about having a dual meet championship, reviving that. And he hasn't shown an inclination toward it. I don't blame him. What do you want to do at the start of the season? Like the Daytona 500? No. Do you want to do it in early January? I mean, when do you do it? And Cale's point is, does it make the sport better or get more interest or excitement? To me, what makes the sport exciting and interesting is not just the journey and the grind to get here, but it's these 2 weekends here. This weekend, the Big Ten tournament, where it's such a preview for the NCAAs in so many ways, and then going to Philadelphia. Now that is where wrestling shines. And next year it's going to be in the Jordan Center and then go to Cleveland. I don't think you need to have a dual meet championship. Now, it's, you crown your national champion as a team in Philadelphia this year, in Cleveland next year. Todd, what do you think?
I think they'll run into the same problem that they do in the PIAA, where you get teams that are interested in it and want to win it, and then you get other teams that are more focused on the individual tournament and don't participate. And they're at the point now they had a hard time finding some place to hold it. I think it took until a month before the season for them to decide to hold it in Altoona.
Yeah. Look, Penn State's been the one that when Boston University was thinking about dropping wrestling, Cale went to Arganis and wrestled them up in Boston and sold it out. Now, it didn't pan out in the end, but he sold it out. He's gone to Utah Valley State, sold it out. He's taken this program all over the country to promote the sport of wrestling. He can't do much more than he does. And I don't think a gimmick does that.